There's over 350 languages spoken in homes in the U.S. and 150 different Native American languages. The most widely used language other than English is Spanish, followed by Chinese, Vietnamese, French, German, Korean, Arabic, and Russian. The native languages of students' families are used in the homes more often than not in Hispanic and Asian American students. 9% of public school students were English language learners. They may be new immigrant students who know little or no English and have very limited school experience in their home countries. Immigrants' assimilation into U.S. culture, their native language is often replaced by English within a few generations. Native languages are more likely to be retained when schools and communities value bilingualism. In the global world, professionals and administrators have realized the advantages of knowing a competitor's culture and language. Children are starting to learn second languages in schools at the same time they're learning English. Majority of the population uses standard English for official and informal communications. Numerous region, local, ethnic, and class dialects are identified across the country. Each has its own set of grammatical rules that are known to its users. Standard English is usually viewed as more credible in schools and the work world. More and more Americans are bidialect or multidialect in that they speak standard English at work but speak their native or local dialect at home or when they are socializing with friends. In today's world, students are generally allowed to speak their dialect in school but are encouraged to learn standard English to provide them an advantage when they later seek employment opportunities later in life. The growing number of ELLUS students calls for educators to understand language learning and how to help students with English while they are learning math, science, and other subjects. Differences between the languages used at home and at school can lead to a disconnect among students, their families, and school officials. Many of the new immigrants that are coming into our U.S. schools have limited English skills, and they are not only trying to learn a second language, but they are adjusting to a new culture. Bilingual education uses both English and the native language that the students are accustomed to. English language learners in English-only classrooms is another program. Some school districts and states are requiring bilingual education if the specific number of students who speak the same native language are enrolled in the school population. This would require teachers or teacher assistants who are fluent in both English and that native language. English-only programs supported by the U.S. Department of Education under Title III include Structured English Immersion, Sheltered English Instruction, Specific Designed Academic Instruction in English, and Content-Based ESL, and 5 Pull-Out ESL. Structured English Immersion programs teach English language skills to help ELL students transition into English-only classrooms with native English speakers. Instruction in SEL programs allow limited use of the student's native language, and pull-out ESL programs and ELLs are removed from their regular classroom to learn English. Teachers in these pull-out ESL programs are also help students with their academic areas in which they are struggling to keep up with their English-speaking peers. Sheltered English instruction programs focus on teaching academic content in English in ways that make it understandable to ELL students. Teachers use physical activities and visual aids to teach academic concepts and vocabulary. Content-based ESL is a program that uses instructional materials, learning objectives, and classroom strategies from academic content areas to help ELL learners learn English and academic content. In transitional bilingual education, academic subjects are taught in native languages as students learn English. Gradually, more and more of the instruction is conducted in English. Developmental bilingual education, by contrast, supports bilingualism and literacy in both English and the native language. Both languages have equal status, and both are used for instructional purposes at the same time. Heritage language programs use literacy in English and the home language, especially if it's an endangered language. Dual language programs are designed for students to develop language proficiency in English and a second language such as Spanish, French, and so on. A two-way immersion program are a version of a dual program in which half the students in the class are native English speakers and the other half are native speakers of a second language. Newcomer programs are designed to help immigrant students develop a basic English skill, study core content areas, and learn the common culture, and develop or strengthen their native literacy skills. These programs are designed for a large number of new immigrants who have limited or no experience with English. As the school decides the appropriate approach for teaching English language learners, parents should be involved in the discussion of this topic and decisions too. By age 2, children realize that they are a girl or boy. By age 5 or 6, they have learned their gender and stereotypic behaviors. Boys are generally socialized towards achievement and self-reliance, and girls towards nurturing and responsibility. For years, boys have outperformed girls in math, and girls have had higher scores than boys in reading. Males have outperformed girls on critical reading and math skills, and females score higher on the writing sections. With different hemispheres of the brain, females tend to have a well-developed left side of the brain, which associates with verbal skills and reading and speaking and writing, and the right side, which boys use more often, is associated with spatial skills, measuring, working with blocks, and other objects. Gender equality. Gender-specific behaviors is sometimes stereotypically reinforced in classrooms. Girls and young women are more likely than boys to be quiet, follow rules, and help the teacher. Boys, on the other hand, and younger men tend to be rowdier and less active in the classroom. And researchers have found classrooms are more girl-friendly, ignoring the ways that boys learn. Some educators have found that academic achievement has improved for both boys and girls when they are in the classrooms with students of the same sex. These schools or classes have developed the confidence, academic achievement, and learning skills of young women and men by using different learning styles and cultural experiences related to their gender. If there was gender equality, females and males would be expected to participate at the same rates in academic courses. As schools promote gender equality, females should be encouraged to become involved in math, science, and computer sciences classes, while males should be encouraged to participate in areas in which they are underrepresented, like fine arts, foreign languages, advanced English, and humanities. As we achieve gender equality education does not mean that all students are always treated the same. Different instructional strategies may be needed for different groups and understanding the cultural differences among men and females. Title IX was a higher education amendment that addressed civil rights of girls and women in educational systems that require federal funded colleges and schools to provide equal educational opportunities for girls and women. Title IX has been credited for increasing the number of girls and young women participating in college preparatory courses, completing professional degrees in college, and participating in sports. It requires the participation of males and female athletes to be substantially proportionate to the percentage of males and females in the student population. The school must have a history and continuing practice of expanding opportunities for underrepresented gender to participate in sports. Sexual orientation. Some cultures and religious groups believe that homosexuality is a choice of lifestyle. These groups place high value of heterosexuality and outlaw homosexuality as part of their religious doctrine and community morals. Heterosexuality has long been the norm. These different perspectives about sexual orientation are reflected in state and national discussions about civil unions and marriages among gays and lesbians. LGBTQ means lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning. These students are generally harassed in their schools and their communities about their sexual orientation. In the 1940s and 50s, 90% of the population was heterosexual, compared to 3.5% of the population identifying themselves as LGBT. Heterosexual refers to being sexually attracted to members of the opposite sex. Lesbians are women who are sexually attracted to other women. Gay men are sexually attracted to other men. And bisexuals are sexually attracted to both sexes. Transgender refers to people whose biological sex does not match their physiology view of themselves. And about 1 out of 3 LGBT students that had been pushed or shoved at a school. 7 in 10 of these students heard that so gay or other negative uses of the word gay by their peers. 2 in 3 students have heard other homophobic remarks. Students of LGBT have been harassed face-to-face and non-face-to-face through text messages, posts on Facebook, and about 50% of the respondents reported about hearing homophobic remarks from their teachers or other school staff. LGBTQ students have said they experience invisibility and isolation in schools, either by peers or by staff. In textbooks, they do not generally see positive images of themselves, or if they even see images about themselves at all in textbooks. Educators must be aware of student safety of all. To help keep students safe, teachers need to intervene when students are verbally and physically harassing each other for whatever reason, including bullying a gay, lesbian, or transgender student. Schools need to develop policies treating all students with equal respect and dignity that explicitly indicate the inclusion of LGBTQ students. 13% of public school populations who receive special education services have disabilities such as specific learning disabilities, speech or language impairments, other health impairments, intellectual disabilities, emotional disturbance, developmental delay, autism, multiple disabilities, hearing impairments, and orthopedic impairments. In the past, some educators have made determinations about potentials of students with disabilities as early as kindergarten, which they can lead to low academic expectations for these students, whom could be performing at high levels if appropriate accommodations are made. This can contribute to academic performances that lag behind their peers later in life. School dropout rates for this population are relatively high. Persons with disabilities are disproportionately and underrepresented in labor forces because people think they're unable to work or the workplace has not made accommodations for them. Over the years, society has historically not accepted students or people with disabilities as their equals. As educators, we should be helping students with disabilities develop their academic potentials and skills for college employment. In the past, inclusion referred primarily to integration of students with disabilities in the general classroom. However, today, we define this practice as fully integrating all students into the educational process, regardless of their race, ethnicity, gender, social economic status, religion, physical or mental abilities, language, or sexual orientation. Students with disabilities or giftedness are integrated into classrooms. Collaboration is required among adults, including parents of these students. Students with disabilities need to have a regular classroom teacher and a special educational specialist. General education teachers need to collaborate with a special education resource teacher, the teacher's aide, appropriate specialists such as the speech language pathologist, occupational and physical therapist, vision specialist, adaptive PE teacher, school psychologist, or a school nurse. All these people help create the IEP, and the general education and staff members follow the individualized education program for the student. Most students with disabilities can achieve at high levels at the same rate as their peers, but some require accommodations that allow them access to the content, instruction, and tools for learning. These accommodations may require physical changes in the classroom. You could increase the desk height so that students with wheelchairs can have a workspace. IDEA requires that students with disabilities be provided a free and appropriate public education. African American students, English language students, and students in low-income families are more likely to be in special education classrooms compared to their peers. African American and American Indian students, like males in general, are overrepresented in disability categories. Also, Hispanic, African American, and American Indian students are underrepresented in gifted programs too. RTI is a multi-tiered screening system that allows teachers to support learning by using interventions as necessary. The first 2 tiers are instructions for all students in general education. The next tier is generally small group instruction for students who have difficulty learning. The tier is individualized instruction for students who need more intensive level of intervention instruction.